Hi everyone, welcome back. So whatever we have done so far, we have only dealt with getting resources from the server. We haven't done any sort of posting resources or manipulated the resources in any way. Now there are some additional things we need to consider when posting or manipulating the resource onto the server. One of such things is data validation, but I'll come to that in a minute. Now I can add resource to either the home listing controller or home listing DTO or suburb DTO. But what I have chosen for this tutorial is we're going to add resources to the child um, DTO. That way, because that case is more complicated, so I'd just rather do this one. Now, if I open home listing DTO, you see there is an ID, and we do not necessarily want API sending us the ID. Most likely, ID is something we would like the server to generate on its own, whether that's in-memory data store or actual database, which we will cover once we go to the entity framework core. Either way, ID ideally should be generated on the server itself. And this creates an instance um, um, where we need a different DTO to create home listings. Um, so let's just do that. What I'll do is I would say home listings for creation DTO, and I'll just copy this, but then right, and obviously I'll just take this off. So nothing is different. The only change between these two DTOs is that I've taken the ID out because that's going to be generated on the server itself. Now you can argue that you would like ID to be sent from the client, and that's okay if that's the design that um, you have chosen. But I would still suggest that creating separate DTOs for your creation and then consuming those two should be separate. And it's I would say there are two reasons for that. One is easier refactoring, and there might be different data validations you want to do on your input and output. So this is your input, for instance, and this is potentially your output. As in, this would so for the purpose of this tutorial, this is creation DTO is what we would be getting from the API. We would convert this creation DTO to the normal DTO, and then this is what we would store in the data store because that's what the data store saves, which is just the home listing DTO, not the home listing for creation DTO. And this should be done this way. All right, let's just move to home listing controller, and then let me write a different action method. I would collapse this, and let's just write. Let me just put void for now. I'll change this in a minute, and then I'm saying create home listings, and then I also need int of suburb ID, right? By now this should be very familiar, so and I should rename this to suburb. Now, if I've got suburb and that comes out to be null, this means the parent is null, and then there's no point adding the resource to the child because now that's giving me null, no, an error because I've kept the return type as void. I'll come to that in a minute. Like what should be the return type. It's obviously not going to be void. I've just used it as a placeholder for now. So once suburb is null, we obviously want to return not found, but we'll come to that. I'll uncomment that in a minute. Now we want to add a new home listing, but for that uh, we need to find out the maximum ID, right? So for that, what I can find out is like max home listing ID, and then I can once I don't need the suburb maximum ID. So what I will do is I would select many, and then just this should be home listing, and then once I've got the home listing, I just want to find out the maximum based of ID, right? And as you can see, it's returning me an integer. Let me show, right? Now, as you can notice, I am getting the home listing. That should be home listing for creation DTO, by the way. And let me change this as well, right? So I'm getting the creation DTO, but in the actual data store, I am storing the normal DTO. So I have found what's the maximum home listing ID, and I just need to create a new home listing because that's what I'm going to store in the underlying data store, right? And then, right, let's just add the field. So ID is going to be max home listings plus one. And then let's just add asking price should be, and we just using the creation DTO for that. And likewise description, I don't know if we have address, okay. And likewise, right? Once we have created the home listings, all we have to do is on that particular suburb, we just add this home listing DTO. In fact, on that suburb, I have to grab the home listings, and to that I need to add, right? Now, once we're creating a post request, which we're doing here, right? It's very common to send 201 status code, and it's done using created at, I need to use a different overload. I'll just come to that in a minute. First, I need to give some name for the route. I Then I pass some anonymous object. I explain that in detail. Just we type out and then I explain. And then that comes here. And let's just change this to action result. And then I am finding home listing DTO. Let's uncomment this. And now this is create at route. And so basically this will send the URI in the header in the request. So let's just go and name the get request. Right, get home listing, and then just grab the same that goes here. And now if you see get home listings need two parameters, let's just pass those. If I come here and then let's just, that should be suburb ID. Likewise, this should be home listing ID, which is going to be home listing ID dot ID, right? Which is basically this max int ID plus one, right? Let's just format this a bit and then, all right, let's test our API. Let me run the app. Let's just first get all the home listings, right? I would like to add it to the suburb one, and then if I get the, so it has home listing ID 1 2. Let's just grab one and then go to body, put that, remove the ID because that's generated on the server, and then let's just change the, this time maybe something more realistic. Let's just add, I don't know, main north road or something like that. And then because it's a post request, let me add post. So I'm getting ID 1 2, uh, and then remember 3 and 4 is on the other suburb. So I should be getting ID 5 generated for this. Let's have a look, right? And then that's body send back. That object is sent back. The reason it's sent back, if you see, because we're passing it back in the created add route. What other thing you would see if you go to the headers in the request body, you should be able to see the details of how you can access that particular resource. Let me show that. If I go to headers and then location, now location is also pointing me how can I grab that resource. Let me just take, because I don't want to remove the, I just put 5 and oops, yeah, because I made a wrong request. Let's just get that. I should be, and then yeah. So that's getting back. Getting back. If I want to see all of them together, then that's it, right? Uh, it's all good working, but there's one issue with that, which is like I don't have any data validations as such. So if I were to give one example of this, let's say my API is running. If I come again, right, and see like, okay, I should still be getting 5. Let's just this time add very long address. Let me just put like a very long address, right? And then let's just add this to the second suburb, right? If I send this, oh, I should be posting it. If I post this is erroring out for a different reason. Let me fix this and then I show you what. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, and that's added. Now the thing is, I have added an address which is very long. I want to add a validation that just maybe checks at least the length of the address string, and if it's beyond a certain threshold, the server shouldn't accept that. And as you can see, it's definitely created. So if I get that home listings, you see that this one is added. Now let me go back and then fix this. So in order to do that, you come to the models, and again models are validated before action method is called. So it's good idea to add your validations on the creation DTO. So if I come here and then let's say I can add that I have to turn off, I can add like required, but then let's say max length of, let's say 100 is, so it should be sufficient. Maybe not even 100, let's say 70, right? Let me run it again. Now let's just get back all of them again. And this time, obviously, we shouldn't be getting this back because we restarted the server. But now let's try to post this again. I'm pretty sure this is more than 70 characters. And this time we've got the error saying 400 bad request, which means that it's the error from the client side, not the server. The field must be of string 70 or greater. All right, so that's how you add data validations. In the next tutorial, we can see how to update and delete a resource, and then potentially in the next one, we can see how do we patch. Thanks for watching. See you in another tutorial. Thank you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.